Paradoxically, it's a fact. We humans sometimes become our own jailers, carefully cherishing and nurturing resentments like precious, albeit poisonous flowers. We may not even realize how actively we are hindering our own liberation from the oppressive feeling of injustice and pain. Let's examine how this self-destructive process unfolds in our daily lives.
Our mind becomes an arena for endless replays of a traumatic situation. We replay hurtful words, cutting remarks, and treacherous actions over and over again, savoring every detail and adding fuel to the fire of our own negative emotions. New, even darker shades and interpretations can be added to the original picture. Carefully staged dialogues play out in our inner world. The offender finally realizes their monstrous mistake, falls to their knees, and begs for forgiveness. Or we, armed with wit and irrefutable arguments, put them in their place, finally getting a long-awaited sense of satisfaction. Alas, these fantasies rarely extend beyond the confines of our consciousness, only serving to maintain the emotional intensity.
All of this leads to our focus narrowing down to the size of the inflicted offense. Everything good that existed in the relationship with this person, or is happening in our life in general, is ruthlessly ignored. Only the source of pain remains in our field of vision.
The role of the victim can become surprisingly appealing. Resentment offers a sense of righteousness, allows us to feel like the victim of unfair treatment, and consequently, to expect sympathy and support from those around us. We may unconsciously cling to this image, fearing the loss of attention. All responsibility for what happened is unequivocally placed on the offender. We refuse to analyze our own role in the conflict or look for ways to resolve it because it's all their fault.
Resentment can become a convenient excuse for our passivity. I can't move on until he or she apologizes. I don't have the strength to change anything after being treated like this. We hide behind a wall of resentment, avoiding the need to take responsibility for our own lives and happiness.
Often, we don't just hold on to resentment internally, but we also share it. Telling the story of our grievance becomes a compulsive need. We retell the details of the offense again and again to friends, relatives, colleagues, and sometimes even casual acquaintances. Each new telling immerses us once more in painful experiences, strengthening the negative image of the offender in our minds. When sharing our story, we are not so much looking for sympathy as for confirmation of our own righteousness. It's important for us to hear, yes, they acted terribly. You are absolutely right to be upset. This is how a kind of hurt feelings club or resentment club is formed, where the feeling of injustice only intensifies.
Often we build impenetrable walls between ourselves and the person who hurt us. A firm no. Any attempts by the offender to apologize or mend the relationship are met with suspicion or rejection. We might believe they don't deserve forgiveness, or fear that forgiving will be seen as weakness. We deliberately avoid contact, ignore calls and messages, and display coldness and detachment, maintaining the emotional distance and depriving ourselves of the possibility of reconciliation.
Our thoughts become our own worst enemies. We slap negative labels on the person who hurt us. He's always been selfish. You can't trust her. He'll never change. These ingrained beliefs leave no room for an objective look at the situation and prevent us from seeing things from a different perspective. A single bad experience can bleed into every area of our lives. We start thinking things like, everyone's a betrayer. I'm always unlucky. There's no justice in this world. Sometimes there are subtle but very real perks hiding behind our resentment. Holding a grudge can be a powerful manipulation tactic, letting us make the other person feel guilty and get what we want. Plus, being upset can draw attention and care from the people around us, which some people might subconsciously crave. Resentment can also serve as an excuse for not wanting to take responsibility for our own actions or for dealing with problems. I'm too upset to deal with that right now.
Resentment is often just the tip of the iceberg, concealing deeper emotional wounds and unresolved childhood experiences. Letting go of resentment can mean reopening our hearts to potential pain and disappointment, which is frightening. We might believe that forgiveness would mean betraying our own feelings, and and the injustice of the pain inflicted. We may simply lack the knowledge and skills to effectively cope with strong negative emotions and resolve conflicts constructively. To break this vicious cycle and find freedom from the oppressive burden of resentment, we must first recognize these self-sustaining mechanisms. Then, conscious efforts will be needed to reframe the situation, work through our thoughts and feelings, change our behavior, and finally, be willing to forgive and move forward. This path may not be easy, but it is the only way to regain our peace of mind and open the door to a happier future.